3 months after my wife vanished during a ski trip, I saw her in a bar. She was laughing hysterically with some guy I'd never seen before, wearing the expensive diamond earrings I'd bought for our 5th wedding anniversary. The exact same ones that were supposedly lost forever in her ski jacket when she mysteriously disappeared without a trace. I'd completely drained our entire life savings, hiring professional search and rescue teams, posting massive $50,000 rewards on every social media platform imaginable, even sleeping in my freezing cold car near the mountain base for endless weeks. Her devastated mom called me, sobbing uncontrollably every single night, and I personally held her trembling hand through 3 separate emotional breakdowns at the police station. But there she was, very much alive and thriving, confidently ordering another round of expensive top-shelf whiskey like she didn't have a care in the world. My hands were violently shaking as I pulled out my phone and started secretly recording from my dark corner across the crowded room. She was all over this tall, muscular stranger with a thick beard, completely wasted and drunk, laughing loudly at absolutely everything he said. They looked like they'd been intimately together for many months, definitely not just minutes. Then I heard her say something that made my blood freeze completely in my veins, and my stomach dropped to the floor. God, I honestly can't believe how ridiculously easy the whole thing was. She slurred loudly, leaning her entire body into him. I just strategically left my jacket and gloves scattered all over the slope, then carefully took the hidden back trail to where I'd secretly parked my car the night before. Everyone back home thinks I'm completely dead and buried. The bearded stranger laughed deeply, slowly running his thick fingers through her blonde hair. Your poor, stupid husband must be absolutely devastated and broken by now, right? Exactly, and that's perfect, she said viciously, her voice getting increasingly meaner and more cruel. Maybe now he'll finally learn to appreciate what he had, instead of constantly taking me for granted like he always did. I'll casually go back home in a few weeks, tell everyone this elaborate story about getting severe amnesia from hitting my head really hard on some rocks. He'll be so incredibly grateful and relieved that I'm miraculously alive. He won't dare ask too many difficult questions. She giggled maniacally like this was all some absolutely hilarious practical joke. Plus, the huge life insurance money should definitely kick in pretty soon. We can easily split it 50-50 and disappear together. My heart was pounding so incredibly hard, I genuinely thought it might actually explode right in my chest. I immediately stopped recording and slowly walked over to their dimly lit corner table, my shaking legs feeling like they might completely give out underneath me. Hey there, sweetheart, I said as casually as possible, smoothly sliding into the booth directly next to her shocked face. Her entire face went completely ghostly white, like she'd just seen an actual supernatural ghost from beyond the grave. The confused bearded guy looked frantically between us, totally bewildered about what was suddenly happening. Funny thing, I continued calmly, my voice surprisingly steady as I showed her my glowing phone screen. I just sent this absolutely lovely video to your completely devastated mother, my heartbroken parents, and about 50 of our closest friends and family members who have been desperately lighting candles and praying intensely for your safe return every single night. She started stuttering completely incoherently, desperately trying to grab my phone while simultaneously attempting to explain herself with ridiculous lies. But I was already confidently standing up and backing away from their table. Oh, and I definitely called the police on my way over here, I added smoothly, watching her face completely crumble and fall apart. The bearded guy suddenly grabbed her wrist hard and yanked her back down into the booth. His entire demeanor shifted from laughing to stone-cold serious in seconds. You called the cops? He hissed at her, his grip tightening until she winced. Do you have any idea what you just did to us? She looked genuinely confused and terrified as he reached into his jacket. That's when I realized this wasn't just some affair. This was something way more dangerous than I thought, and her scared expression told me she had no clue who she'd actually gotten involved with. I mean, you should have seen the panic in her eyes when his hand went inside that jacket. It was like she suddenly understood she'd made a massive mistake, you know? The bar around us kept going like nothing was happening. Music blasting, people laughing and drinking, completely oblivious to the fact that my whole world had just exploded in this little corner booth. My wife, or whatever she was now, started pulling away from him. What are you doing? She asked, her voice shaking. Why are you acting like this? Shut up, he snapped, and I swear the temperature in the room dropped about 20 degrees. His whole vibe had changed. Gone was the charming guy who'd been buying her drinks and laughing at her jokes. This was someone else entirely. I should have left right then. I should have walked straight out that door and waited for the cops outside, but I couldn't move, honestly. I was frozen there, watching this unfold like some twisted car crash you can't look away from. She tried to stand up, but he grabbed her arm harder. Sit down, he ordered. We need to figure this out before those cops get here. Figure what out? She practically whimpered. I thought you were just helping me with the insurance thing. You said it would be easy money, that you'd done it before. He laughed, but it was cold. Mean. You really thought I was in this for the money? Jesus. You're dumber than I thought. That's when the pieces started clicking together in my head. This wasn't just about insurance fraud. This was something bigger, something way worse. The way he was looking at her now, like she was a problem he needed to solve, made my skin crawl. Look, I said, taking a step closer even though every instinct was screaming at me to run. Whatever this is, just let her go. The cops are already on their way. He looked at me then, really looked at me for the first time, and smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. You must be the husband, he said. She talked about you a lot, said you were boring, predictable. Guess she was right about the predictable part, calling the cops like a good little citizen. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I shot back. Before he could answer, I heard sirens in the distance. His expression changed instantly, like someone flipped a switch. He let go of her wrist and pulled his hand out of his jacket. Empty. Then he reached into his back pocket instead and pulled out a badge. Federal agent, he said calmly, standing up and adjusting his jacket. Daniel Morrison, FBI. I just stood there like an idiot, my mouth literally hanging open. What? My wife looked just as shocked as I felt. You're a cop? She gasped. Special agent, he corrected, his voice all business now. And you, Mrs. Patterson, are under arrest for insurance fraud, filing false police reports, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. The bar seemed to get quieter, or maybe it was just my ears ringing. I couldn't process what I was hearing. Wait, I said, holding up my hands. You're telling me you're not her accomplice? You're a Fed? He nodded, pulling out actual handcuffs from his belt. I've been undercover for the past 6 months, investigating an insurance fraud ring that's been operating across 3 states. Your wife got recruited online about 4 months ago by someone promising easy money through staged disappearances. I don't understand, my wife stammered, tears starting to stream down her face. Real tears this time, not the crocodile tears I'd seen her use 1,000 times. You said you loved me. You said we were going to be together. Morrison didn't even look at her as he cuffed her hands behind her back. I said a lot of things. That's kind of how undercover work operates. The actual police burst through the door then, like 4 uniformed cops with their hands on their weapons. Morrison flashed his badge and they relaxed a little. I've got her, he told them. Subject is in custody. We'll need to transport her to federal holding. One of the cops looked at me. You're the husband? The one who called it in? I nodded, still trying to wrap my head around what was happening. Yeah, that's me. We're going to need a statement from you, he said. Everything you saw, everything you heard. As they were leading my wife toward the door, she looked back at me. Please, she begged. Don't let them do this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. We can fix this. I just stared at her. 3 months of hell. 3 months of thinking she was dead, of crying myself to sleep, of lying to her mother about how I was holding up. 3 months of my life completely destroyed. You're right, I said quietly. You did make a mistake. They took her out, and Morrison hung back for a second. Look, he said, his voice a little softer now. I know this is a lot to process, but I need you to come down to the federal building tomorrow. There's more to this than just your wife. More? I asked. What the hell else could there be? He glanced around the bar, checking to make sure no one was listening. The person who recruited her, they're still out there, and they're running a pretty sophisticated operation. We've identified at least 15 other cases across the country similar to yours. People staging disappearances, collecting insurance payouts, then vanishing again. 15? I felt sick. How is that even possible? Social media, online forums, encrypted messaging apps, he explained. This person, we call them the handler. They find vulnerable people with money problems or failing marriages, and they offer them a way out. They provide fake IDs, help them create new identities, walk them through every step of staging a disappearance. And you want me to do what exactly? I asked. Morrison leaned in closer. Help us catch them. Your wife was in contact with the handler up until tonight. If we can get her to cooperate, to keep up the communication, we might be able to track them down. Why would I help her? The words came out harder than I meant them to. She destroyed my life. Because if you do, he said, meeting my eyes, we can offer you full immunity. Make sure you keep all your assets, and your wife gets a reduced sentence for cooperating. Otherwise, she's looking at 10 to 15 years minimum, and there's a good chance the defense will try to implicate you as an accomplice. Implicate me? I practically shouted. I'm the victim here. I know that, and you know that, Morrison said calmly. But a good lawyer could argue you were in on it from the beginning. The insurance policy was in both your names. You had access to all the accounts. It would be messy, expensive, and even if you won, your reputation would be destroyed. I wanted to punch something. Actually, I wanted to punch him. But he wasn't wrong. I'd seen enough true crime documentaries to know how these things played out. What exactly would I have to do? I asked finally. Let her come home. Act grateful that she's alive. Play along with whatever story we set up. He handed me a business card. Come to this address tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll brief you on everything. I took the card, my hand shaking. And if I say no, then you say no, he shrugged. But your wife goes to prison. You lose most of your assets in the legal battle, and the handler keeps ruining lives. Your choice. He left then, and I was alone in the bar with a statement to give and a decision to make. I looked down at my phone. at the video I'd recorded, at my wife laughing about how easy it had been to fake her death, how grateful I'd be when she came back. The next morning, I was sitting in a conference room at the federal building, nursing the worst cup of coffee I'd ever tasted. Morrison was there, along with 2 other agents I hadn't met before. A woman introduced herself as Special Agent Chen, and an older guy named Special Agent Brooks. "Before we begin," Brooks said, "I want to make sure you understand what you're agreeing to here." "I understand," I said, even though I really didn't. Not fully. Chen pulled out a folder and spread some photos across the table. "These are the other victims we know about. Husbands, wives, kids who thought their loved ones were dead. Some of them collected insurance money, some didn't. But they all went through the same hell you did." I looked at the photos. Regular people, normal families. They all had that same haunted look in their eyes that I'd seen in my mirror for the past 3 months. "The handler is smart," Morrison continued. "They've been operating for at least 3 years, maybe longer. They use burner phones, encrypted apps. They never meet their clients in person. Everything is done remotely. So, how are we supposed to catch them?" I asked. "Your wife received a message last night," Chen said, sliding a printout across the table. "We confiscated her phone when we arrested her. This came through about an hour after we took her in. I read it. What happened? Why aren't you answering? The insurance company called me asking questions. You need to respond now." "The handler doesn't know we arrested her," Morrison explained. "They think she just went dark. If we can keep up the communication, make them think everything is still going according to plan, they might make a mistake." "And where do I come in?" I asked. "We need you to take her back," Brooks said bluntly. "Not for real, obviously, but publicly. We'll stage a reunion. You can make a big social media post about how grateful you are that she's alive, how she's confused and suffering from memory loss, but you're just happy to have her home. You want me to lie to everyone?" The thought made me feel sick. "To her mom, to my parents, to all our friends who've been there for me. We'll brief your immediate family on the truth," Chen assured me. "But everyone else, yeah, they need to think it's real. The handler will be watching. They'll check social media, maybe even have someone local keeping tabs on you. If they suspect anything, they'll disappear." I sat back in my chair, feeling the weight of it all. "What happens to my wife in all this?" "She'll be released on bond, with an ankle monitor," Morrison said. "She'll move back home with you. You'll act like a loving husband. She'll play the confused amnesiac. Behind closed doors, we'll be feeding her exactly what to say to the handler." "How long will this take?" I asked. "Could be weeks, could be months," Brooks admitted. "These types of investigations move slowly. And what do I get out of this?" I needed to know. "Besides the warm, fuzzy feeling of helping justice," Morrison leaned forward. "You keep everything. The house, the cars, your savings account, all of it. Your wife signs a post-nuptial agreement giving you full ownership of all marital assets. When this is over and she's convicted, you walk away clean with a divorce that costs you nothing." "And her?" I asked. "Minimum security, probably 3 to 5 years instead of 10 to 15, Chen said. "She helps us. She gets a deal. That's how this works." I thought about it. Really thought about it. Part of me wanted to just walk away, let her rot in prison, try to rebuild my life without any of this baggage. But another part of me, the part that had spent 3 months wondering what happened to her, wanted answers. And maybe, just maybe, wanted a little revenge too. "Okay," I said finally. "I'll do it." Brooks smiled. "Good. We'll have your wife brought up in a few minutes. You two need to talk, get your stories straight. And remember, from this moment on, you're being watched. The handler could be monitoring you right now. So everything you do, everything you say, has to be believable." They left me alone in the conference room for about 10 minutes before my wife was brought in. She wasn't cuffed anymore, but she had that ankle monitor clearly visible on her left leg. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying, and she looked like she hadn't slept at all. "Hi," she said quietly, sitting down across from me. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her. This person I thought I knew, this person I'd married and built a life with. "They told me what you're doing," she continued, "helping them catch the handler. I just wanted to say thank you." "Don't," I cut her off. "I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this so I don't lose everything in a legal battle." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "Right. Of course. How did this even happen?" I asked, genuinely curious. "How did you go from my wife to faking your death with some stranger?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Do you remember last year when I told you I wanted to go back to school, and you said we couldn't afford it? That's what this is about?" I couldn't believe it. "Tuition?" "No," she said quickly. "Not just that. It was everything. The way you'd come home from work and just zone out in front of the TV. The way you stopped asking me about my day. The way we stopped being us. So instead of talking to me about it, you decided to fake your death?" My voice was rising. "That's insane." "I know," she said, tears streaming down her face again. "I know it was insane, but then I found this forum online, and there were all these people talking about how they'd escaped their lives, started over, and it just seemed so easy. Like maybe I could just disappear and be someone else. Someone who wasn't stuck in a boring marriage with no future." "Boring," I repeated. "That's what I was to you? Boring? You don't understand," she sobbed. I felt trapped, like I was drowning and you didn't even notice. Because you never told me. I slammed my hand on the table. You never said you were unhappy. You never gave me a chance to fix things. You just decided to blow up both our lives. A knock on the door interrupted us. Morrison stuck his head in. You too good? Fine, I said through clenched teeth. Just peachy. We need to go over the plan, he said, coming in and sitting down. Here's how this is going to work. Tomorrow morning, we're staging a reunion at the hospital. Your wife will be checked in overnight tonight for observation. Standard procedure for someone who's been missing. The news will report that she was found wandering in the next state over, confused and disoriented. Won't the handler think that's suspicious? I asked. Maybe, Morrison admitted, but the story is that she managed to hitch a ride, got dropped off at a truck stop, and someone there recognized her from the missing person reports. It's plausible enough. He pulled out his phone and showed us a message. This is what we're going to send to the handler from your wife's phone. Sorry, had to lay low. Cops found me, but I'm playing the amnesia card. Husband believes it. We'll keep you updated on insurance. And if they don't buy it? My wife asked nervously. Then they don't buy it and we've wasted some time, Morrison said. But it's worth a shot. The next 3 days were the strangest of my life, and trust me, that's saying something. I picked my wife up from the hospital in front of cameras, hugged her while photographers snapped pictures, did an interview with the local news where I choked up talking about how grateful I was that she was alive. I should have won an Oscar for that performance. At home, things were tense. We had separate bedrooms, obviously. The agents had installed cameras and recording equipment throughout the house, hidden in smoke detectors and electrical outlets. Everything we said, everything we did, was being monitored. My wife's phone started getting messages from the handler pretty regularly. Stuff like, when will the insurance pay out? And, are you keeping up the act? We'd sit together at the kitchen table while agents fed her responses through an earpiece she wore whenever the handler called. It was during one of these calls that I learned something that changed everything. My wife had been on speakerphone, talking to the handler about the insurance claim, when they said something that made my blood run cold. Just keep playing the confused wife. Your husband always was gullible. Remember what James said. Guys like him never see it coming. James, my wife's ex-boyfriend from college, the one she'd told me died in a car accident 8 years ago. After she hung up, I looked at Morrison. Did you hear that? James. She had an ex-boyfriend named James. We heard it, he confirmed. You know this person? He supposedly died years ago, I said. Car accident. She was devastated for months. Morrison and Chen exchanged a look. Get me everything you know about him. Full name, where he was from, any photos you might have. I dug through old boxes in our basement while agents watched. Finally found a photo album from before we got married. There he was, James Hartley, his arm around my wife at some college party. He had the same cocky smile I remembered from the few times I'd met him before he died. This is him, I said, showing them the photo. Chen ran the photo through their database right there on her tablet. A few minutes later, she looked up at me. James Hartley didn't die in a car accident. He's very much alive, and he's got a record, fraud, identity theft, cybercrime. You're telling me my wife's ex-boyfriend has been alive this whole time? I felt like I was going to be sick, and apparently running an insurance fraud ring, Morrison added. This changes things. Over the next few days, they put together a profile on James. Turns out he'd been obsessed with my wife even after they broke up. When she started dating me, he'd gone off the deep end, stalking her social media, showing up at places he knew she'd be. She'd gotten a restraining order against him, which was when he staged his own death to make the harassment stop. But clearly, he'd never really left. He'd been watching us, waiting for his chance to get revenge, probably. And when he saw my wife looking for a way out on those online forums, he'd seized the opportunity. He's not just running a fraud ring, Chen explained. He's specifically targeting people who stole something from him, in his mind. We found 2 other women he recruited who had rejected him in the past. This isn't about money for him, it's personal. So what's the plan now? I asked. We know who he is. Can't you just arrest him? We need proof that he's the handler, Brooks said. Right now, all we have is circumstantial evidence and a suspicious connection. We need him to either meet with your wife or transfer money, or something concrete that ties him to the crimes. So we keep playing along, I said. It wasn't really a question. We keep playing along, Morrison confirmed. That night, my wife came into the living room where I was pretending to watch TV. In reality, I was just staring at the screen, my mind going a million miles an hour. Can we talk? She asked quietly. About what? I didn't look at her. James, she said. I swear to you, I thought he was dead. I had no idea he was behind any of this. But you stayed in contact with the handler, I pointed out. Even after you started suspecting something was off, you kept going along with it. I was scared, she admitted. He threatened me. Said if I backed out, he'd tell you everything, ruin my life. I didn't know what to do. I finally looked at her then. You had a million chances to tell me the truth. Before the ski trip, after you came back, any time in between. But you didn't. I know, she whispered, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. The next message from James came through 2 days later. Time to speed things up, it said. Insurance company is dragging their feet. I need you to push harder. Tell your husband you're having nightmares. See a therapist. Make it more believable. He's getting impatient, Morrison observed. That's good for us. My wife responded exactly as she was told, and James replied almost immediately, "Good girl. Keep it up and we'll have that money soon. Then you and I can finally be together like we should have been all along." "Together," my wife said out loud, looking at the agents. "What does he mean together?" "He thinks you're going to run away with him," Chen said. "He probably thought this whole thing was a romantic gesture, helping you escape your terrible life." My wife looked like she was going to throw up. I never gave him any indication that I wanted that." "Doesn't matter what you intended," Morrison said. "He's built up this fantasy in his head, and now we can use it against him." The plan they came up with was risky. My wife would tell James that the insurance company wanted to meet with both of us to discuss the payout, and that she was worried I was starting to get suspicious. James would offer to meet her somewhere to help her figure out what to do. When he showed up, agents would move in and arrest him. "What if he doesn't take the bait?" my wife asked nervously. "Then we try something else," Brooks said. "But I think he will. He's too invested in this now. He's not going to let you screw it up." They were right. When my wife sent the message saying she needed to meet, James responded within minutes. "I know a place. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Come alone." The location he gave was an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Real original. The agents spent the entire next day setting up surveillance equipment, positioning themselves around the building, planning for every possible scenario. I insisted on being there too, hidden in one of the surveillance vans. Morrison tried to talk me out of it, but I wasn't budging. This was my life James had tried to destroy. My wife he'd manipulated. I needed to see it through. At 8:45 p.m., my wife pulled up in her car, wearing a wire and with a GPS tracker in her shoe. She was shaking so badly I could see it from the camera feeds. "You're doing great," Chen said into her earpiece. "Just stay calm, get him talking." My wife walked into the warehouse. It was dark except for a single light in the center of the space. James was standing under it, and even from the grainy camera feed, I could see the crazy in his eyes. "You came," he said, smiling. "I knew you would. What is this place?" my wife asked, looking around nervously. "Somewhere we can talk without being interrupted," he said, moving closer to her. "You sounded panicked in your message. What's wrong?" "The insurance company wants to meet with both of us," she said, sticking to the script. "They said something about inconsistencies in my story. What if they figure it out?" "They won't," James said confidently. "As long as you stick to what I told you, they can't prove anything. You just have to play the confused victim a little longer." "But what if my husband gets suspicious?" she pressed. "He's been asking questions, wanting to know details about what I remember." "Then we move up the timeline," James said. He pulled an envelope out of his jacket. "I've got everything you need here. New ID, bank account information, a plane ticket. We can leave tonight." "Tonight?" My wife's voice cracked. "I can't just leave tonight." "Why not?" James demanded. "What's keeping you there?" "Him?" He said the word, like it was poison. "That boring, pathetic excuse for a man? I've been watching you, watching him, for years. You've been miserable." "How long?" my wife asked. "How long have you been watching us?" "Since the beginning," he said, and he sounded proud of it. "Since you started dating him. Did you really think I'd just let you go, after everything we had?" "We dated for 6 months in college," my wife said, 8 years ago. "It was more than that, and you know it," James insisted. "We were supposed to be together. You were supposed to be mine. But then he came along and poisoned your mind against me." "He didn't poison my mind," my wife said. "You scared me. You were obsessive. You wouldn't leave me alone." James's expression changed. "I was protecting you, showing you what real love looks like. Not like him, going through the motions, treating you like a roommate instead of a partner." "You don't know anything about my marriage," my wife shot back. "I know everything about your marriage," James yelled. "I've been in your house. I've read your emails, your texts. I've watched you cry yourself to sleep while he sat downstairs watching stupid TV shows. I know you better than he ever did." In the surveillance van, Morrison was already giving orders to move in, but I was focused on what James had just said. He'd been in our house? How many times? What else had he done? "You've been in my house?" my wife asked, echoing my thoughts. "Of course," James said casually. "How do you think I knew you'd be receptive to my messages? I had to make sure the time was right, that you were desperate enough to listen." "You've been stalking me," my wife said. "This whole time you've been stalking me." "I've been loving you," James corrected. "There's a difference, and soon we'll be together like we were always meant to be." He reached out to touch her face, and she stepped back. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she said firmly. James's expression darkened. "What did you just say?" "I said I'm not going with you," my wife repeated. "This was a mistake, all of it. I should never have listened to you." "You don't mean that," James said, but there was an edge to his voice now. "You're just scared. Once we get away from here, away from him, you'll understand." "There is no away from here," my wife said. "I'm not leaving. I'm staying with my husband." That's when James pulled out a gun. My heart stopped. In the van, everyone started talking at once. Agents moving into position. "Put the gun down, James," my wife said, surprisingly calm. "You're coming with me," James said. "Even if I have to drag you. I didn't spend 3 years planning this just to let you back out now." 3 years? My wife asked. "You've been planning this for 3 years?" "Since I faked my death," James confirmed. I knew eventually you'd be unhappy enough to listen. I just had to wait for the right moment. And then I found those forums, found other people I could test my methods on. 2 successful cases before yours. This should have been perfect. It's over, James, my wife said. Even if you make me leave with you, I'll never love you. I'll never want this. You will, he insisted. Once he's out of the picture, once you see what I can give you, you'll understand. We can start over, be who we were supposed to be. That's when the agents stormed in. James spun around, the gun raised, and for a horrible second I thought someone was going to get shot. But then Morrison came in from behind and tackled him to the ground. The gun went flying, agents swarmed in, and it was over in seconds. James was screaming the whole time they cuffed him. She wants this! She asked for my help. Tell them you wanted to be with me. My wife just stood there, frozen. I never said that. I never wanted this. They dragged James out, still screaming about how we'd stolen his life, how we'd pay for this. I got out of the surveillance van and ran into the warehouse. My wife saw me and just crumpled, sobbing. I caught her before she hit the ground. It's okay, I said. It's over. He's gone. She clung to me, shaking. He was in our house, our home. How many times? What did he do? We'll figure it out, I promised, even though I had no idea if that was true. The next few days were a blur. James's apartment was searched and they found a whole wall dedicated to my wife. Photos of her, of us together, printouts of her social media posts, notes about our daily routines. It was like something out of a horror movie. They also found evidence linking him to 6 other fraud cases, not just the 2 they'd known about. 6 other families he'd destroyed for his sick game, and it all traced back to people who'd rejected him or, in his mind, wronged him in some way. The case made national news. Insurance fraud ring mastermind arrested was the headline I saw everywhere. Our names were kept out of it, but people in our town knew. Of course they knew. The day after James's arrest, my lawyer met with my wife and her lawyer. She signed the post-nuptial agreement without a fight, giving me everything. The house, the cars, our savings, all of it. I don't deserve any of it, she said quietly. I know that. Her sentencing hearing was set for 3 months later. In the meantime, she moved into a small apartment with the ankle monitor still on. I filed for divorce the next day, but there was one more thing I needed to do. One more person who deserved to know the truth. I drove to my mother-in-law's house on a Saturday morning. She'd been so grateful when my wife came back, so relieved. We'd had Sunday dinners together. She'd fussed over my wife, made her favorite foods. She thought her daughter had been given a miracle. "Sweetheart," she said when she opened the door, smiling. "I wasn't expecting you. Is everything okay? Can I come in?" I asked. "There's something you need to see." We sat in her living room, the same room where I'd held her hand while she cried about her missing daughter, the same room where we'd planned search efforts and made missing person posters. "What's this about?" she asked, concerned now. I pulled out my tablet and showed her everything. The video I'd recorded at the bar, the transcripts of my wife's conversations with James, the full story of what had happened. I watched her face go from confusion to horror to something I couldn't quite name. "No," she said finally. "No, you're lying. My daughter wouldn't do this." "I'm not lying," I said gently. "I wish I was, but this is what happened. All of it." She read through the transcripts again, her hands shaking. When she got to the part where my wife talked about how easy it was to fake her death, to make everyone think she was gone, my mother-in-law made a sound like she'd been punched. "How could she?" she whispered. "How could she do this to us?" "To you? I don't know," I said honestly. "I've asked myself that same question 1,000 times." She was quiet for a long time, just staring at the papers in her lap. Then she looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry for what she put you through, for what she put all of us through." "It's not your fault," I told her. "I should have seen something was wrong," she said. "I'm her mother. I should have known. She fooled everyone," I said. "That was the whole point." My mother-in-law stood up abruptly and walked to her desk. She pulled out a folder, opened it, and I saw it was her will. "I was going to leave everything to her," she said. "This house, my savings, everything. But now," she shook her head. "I can't. I won't." She sat down at the desk and started writing, crossing things out, making notes. I realized what she was doing. "You don't have to do this," I said. "Not right now." "Yes, I do," she said firmly. "If I wait, I'll talk myself out of it. I'll make excuses for her. But this, what she did, it's unforgivable. I have a son who never put me through this kind of pain. He deserves what I have, not her." I sat there while she rewrote her will, right there in her living room. When she was done, she called her lawyer and made an appointment for first thing Monday morning. "Thank you for telling me the truth," she said to me at the door. "I know that couldn't have been easy. You deserve to know," I said. She hugged me then, this woman who I'd thought would be my mother-in-law forever. "You deserved better than my daughter. I hope you find someone who appreciates what they have." I drove away from that house knowing I'd never see her again. And honestly, that was okay. This whole chapter of my life was over. The divorce would be finalized in a few months. My wife would serve her 3 to 5 years, and I'd have everything I needed to start over. As I pulled into my driveway, I got a text from Morrison. James pled guilty to all charges. 25 years minimum. It's really over. I sat in my car for a minute, just breathing. Really over. After months of hell, after finding out my wife faked her death, after helping catch a stalker running an insurance fraud ring, it was finally over. I walked into my house now, and locked the door behind me.